I'm Yoko, and welcome to year 31 of GalaxyClan. Thank you to my Patreon supporters on screen, and it has been forever since I last posted GalaxyClan. My bad, life was kinda all over the place, but I'm excited to be back. There's a lot of drama this year, and an animatic, but we'll get to that one later. There's also a ton of clan hopping if you watch the streams, so stay tuned to see who exactly left the clan, and why. But for now, let's get the pain out of the way with who died this year. First in StarClan is sadly Spotted Stripe, who died at 26 moons old. She recovered from her shivers and found some poppies on a walk that she decided to wear, adding to her sisters all seeming to wear poppies for Cone Poppy's name, which is very cute. Volwhisker wanted to get to know her better, and Fawnstar also realized that Spotted Stripe would put her life on the line for a clanmate. Then she found a lost J-Clan apprentice guiding them home with Steppaw, and she was ambushed by a bigger dog on patrol, and Bat Pounce saved her, though he got hurt in the process. The dog also had a smaller one with it that she chased away. It seems like Bat Pounce and Spotted Stripe were pretty good friends, and she laughed gleefully in adrenaline-filled relief afterwards when it was clear that Bat Pounce was gonna live despite the big wounds. But sadly, she was cornered by a group of rogues and killed, being found the next day. Those rogues are named cats, and they will come up again later. Next up is unfortunately the 86-moon-old Pumpkin Glow. He started the year helping his son Yucca Leaf train his apprentice fighting techniques, and praising Nightpaw, who was a bit down at the time. As time went on and the situation regarding his ex-mate Wilbur got worse, he just wasn't having good days, feeling nervous and tired. He gave Scaleheart some advice that wasn't the best, but she appreciated it, and Sneezetuff found comfort in his presence. He then got ambushed by rogues, the same group it seems that killed Spotted Stripe. Though he was in a big group and fought them off, a lot of cats got attacked by rogues, you're going to be hearing that a lot. He was being a bit silly and musing a plan for world domination just to get his mind off some things, and sternly warned a Moss Clan apprentice who was stealing prey, with Pumpkin Glow bringing the prey back to camp. And this is where I reveal that I had to run a harsh leaf bear generator, so Pumpkin Glow died while out hunting and getting trapped in a winter storm, with a group of cats, the only survivor of that group being his son Bat Pounce. Another cat that died in that event was a new face, 24-moon-old loyal snow lion with a keen eye. She was found in the snow with another cat by Fawnstar, and they were frostbitten and shivering, and her companion asked if they had found GalaxyClan. Fawnstar cautiously said yes, and her companion revealed that they came from Bug Clan, a clan that Fawnstar recognized considering she has Bug Clan blood. They explained Bug Clan has fallen, natural disasters and two-leg expansion slowly killed them all off, with some cats deciding to run to the mountains, hearing the tales of GalaxyClan's move many moons ago. Despite Fawnstar typically not trusting outsiders, her heart was tugged by their story and the tale of Bug Clan, so she brought them to the clan despite the clan also struggling at the time. Snow Lion eventually healed and joined the hunting party, sadly dying. She also had a crush on her companion that she joined with, though that never really went anywhere. He is alive and you'll meet him later. The last of the hunting party to die was sadly 7-moon-old Righteous Windpaw. He's a kit of Sneezetuff and Scaleheart and was quiet when younger. Sneezetuff was comforting him after a hard day, and he would hum to himself. He found Grumpy Smokehorn a bit annoying and would quietly crush leaves. He was surprisingly apprenticed to Bat Pounce after someone encouraged Fawnstar that she should perhaps give him one for some positive motivation, noticing that he seemed to be stewing after a lot of events building up. Windpaw liked him, and on their first day out, they found a lost J-Clan apprentice guiding them back home. Windpaw couldn't wait for New Leaf, as Bat Pounce described more prey-rich times of the year. And in desperation, Windpaw tried and failed to steal a rabbit from J-Clan, so now I bring up that Bat Pounce was the sole survivor on a patrol with a new cat, his dad, and his apprentice while they all huddled together in a storm. That is terrible. Windpaw's full name would have been Windfreckle. And we must sadly talk about the two kits that died in this leaf bear. Free-moon-old bullying Shammy's kit and noisy Lake Kit who just couldn't make it through one cold night. They are daughters of Rain and Hickory Frost, with Rain's sibling Jasmine being the donor again. Sadly, they died this year as well, shortly after the birth of these kittens. Unrelated, I did roll since it was nothing in-game and Jasmine was hit by a car in Two-Leg Place. These two do have living siblings from their litter, but Shammy's kit would groom herself and listen to the older apprentice's stories, joining in with ideas and trained with one of them playfully. She watched Goldpuff guarding camp and seemed really excited to be an apprentice. Lake Kit was more noisy and would say that she craved mouse and would get into everyone's way, but the cats found her charming. Their full names would have been Shammy's Blaze and Lake Summit. Always sad when we lose kittens. Next is a couple, though, as 62-moon-old Cranedapple and 58-moon-old Houndsnout did not survive the harsh leaf bear. But going back in time, Cranedapple got hurt when following J-Clan's scent and running to a dog. Houndsnout was teaching her apprentice advanced battle moves before her kits came, and then they had their litter of free. Minnow Spirit catching Houndsnout staring at the stars the moon before the birth. Cranedapple missed to catch that moon and was sulking. She also apparently has a rival in Viper Clan that she was racing along the border with. She gave badger rides to kits and was asking Scaleheart questions. Despite last year her and Batpound seemed comfortable with each other, as he was comfortable challenging her on something and nothing seemed hostile. As the Leaf Bear got closer, she was imagining worst case scenarios, and back to Houndsnout, she was worried an injured Smokepaw was overworking herself and gave Sparrow Eye some forget-me-not flowers. She was wondering if she could handle Fawnstar's position after drifting into her dream and catching some of her internal struggles that she hides from with her angry, tough face that she puts on. Houndsnout went out solo hunting but ended up getting swept into herb hunting with the medicine cats instead, and she found a dead kitten with another patrol and was feeling restless, having a nightmare of a rushing river, though not being sure if it was her dream or someone else's. She also took a nap on patrol, roaming her former apprentice's dream and making it all the way to branch roots for a bit. But sadly, Cranedapple died of green cough during an outbreak, and Houndsnout refused to eat the few fresh kill, prioritizing making sure their kits and the others ate, ending up dying from starvation. Houndsnout always seemed to care for others, making sure Scaleheart got to her nest during some rough weather at one point, and it's really sad to lose these girls, but at least they weren't apart long. But unfortunately, one of their kits did not survive. 9-moon-old Hushpaw was confident with words and interested in clan history. He was a daydreamer kit, but didn't have dream powers. None of the litter actually got them, despite the donor in-game having them, so that was a little unfortunate. He pranked Fawnstar and ate a cicada, causing him the buzz, and he was just kinda all over the place, wanting to get to know a freshly made apprentice and pretending to be a two-legged kit. He tried to look calm and collected when he was apprenticed to Shrew Cinder, though he was trembling, and later she noticed he was acting strange, with him whispering that he feels like a failure despite being a fresh apprentice, and I think, with everything going on in clan, he was a little overwhelmed. Shrew Cinder comforted him, and later he was grateful for Ice Dash's mediation, and briefly had a running nose. He also fought against some rogues, and then he died in the same green cough outbreak that his mom Cranedapple died in. His full name would have been Hush Whisper, which is just, perfect. Next up is the new named Steptrot, who is only 19 moons old. He was a silly apprentice laughing gleefully and trying to hunt a creature Ice Dash made of. He was wondering if Downy Pelt was a good apprentice, and then helped guide a J-Clan apprentice home. Fawnstar wasn't sure he outgrew his childish quirks, but still named him Steptrot, honored for his lightheartedness and intrigue. And then on the same moon, for some reason, she gave him an apprentice, and this boy was a very young mentor. He didn't know how to respond when his apprentice asked if being friends of a kitty pet was being disloyal, and he thought about, what if he ran into his biological mom, Righteous Bread Pudding? Would that be considered disloyal to talk to her? He stayed on the silly side, missing a mouse and saying how mouse-serious it was. He had a nice chat with the cats guarding camp and was giggling with friends over clan drama, but he was also ambushed by the rogues of his apprentice. Droplet Flo did realize that despite his seriousness, he would put his life on the line for a clanmate. Steptrot died in the green cough outbreak along with one of his brothers, Frosty Snout, who was named at 10 moons old, taking to his mediator training like a fish to water. He was debating swimming to cool down, so that's fitting wording. He was worried Screwpatch was overworking, and it was mediating between Hornet Clan as well as Fawnstar and Minnow Spirit. Fawnstar didn't really seem to like him, and he also thought she could be leading the clan better. He accidentally made Viper Clan even more upset when trying to mediate them, and he was listening to stories about Rainbow Flare, the leader before Fawnstar. He seemed to be thinking about how things were run, and I wish he could have stuck around because he seemed to be taking action, but alas, green cough. Now, before we get into the next cats, I'm going to have an animatic section, so blood warning. Gravel Patch was hunting a squirrel when it spotted him, and he set off to chase. He killed the squirrel and didn't notice he crossed the border due to the snow until he heard a voice from nearby. Spinel confronted him that he stole that from Hornet Clan with Basil nearby, and at this point the rest of Gravel Patch's patrol caught up. Hungry and unable to hold back his annoyance from secondhand Hornet Clan stories he heard, he argued that it was a GalaxyClan squirrel. Spinel approached saying that's not how this works, but Luckshine hissed out that Hornet Clan clearly didn't need it, and considered this even for when GalaxyClan has caught Hornet Clan on their land. When Spinel took another step, Gravel Patch swiped, and just like that, the patrols were thrown into a fight. Luckshine fighting Basil while Gravel Patch and his apprentice teamed up on Spinel. But then Luckshine heard Gracklepaw scream, and turned to see Spinel standing over Gravel Patch's body, breathing heavy from the fight. Luckshine saw red at the death of their former apprentice and charged Spinel, slamming him into the mountainside as they fought. Gracklepaw stood blankly staring at Gravel Patch's body, too distracted to hear the warning signs. Spinel and Lookshine looked up from their fight just in time to see a wave of snow crashing down. It was too late, burying both of them. Gracklebot cried out and desperately tried to dig them out, but as the snowstorm got stronger, Basil just watched and decided not to help, turning back to her territory with the squirrel and a plan to pretend she never saw this. So Gravel Patch was killed by Spinel, as you saw at 19 moons old, like his brothers. He was a spunky apprentice, showing that he could still run and jump like any cat, and asking Droplet Foe about warrior life. He got praised by Fawnstar, who was supervising his training, and took Luckshine's advice to heart. He was seen touching noses with Jasmine, and was wondering what living with two legs was like when thinking about his biomom and his kithood. He was named Gravel Patch for his wit, and then sadly found a dead kit when on patrol. He got an apprentice, being favored by Fawnstar, and tried to keep her warm in a snowstorm. He was wondering what Fawnstar was up to, and briefly tried to make a leg out of a stick, but found that he did fine without it. He escorted the J-Clan medicine cat to camp when they mentioned an herb shortage and a badly injured warrior, which timeline-wise might have been Wastar. I imagine if Gravel Patch looked up to him a bit as someone also missing a leg. He then fought off rogues in a big group, and then during Leaf Bear was so desperate to catch prey that you saw what ended up happening. He was a bit hot-headed and eager for battles, but I really think he cared about his clan, and it's sad to see him go. As shown, Luckshine also died at 116 moons old. She was wondering if StarClan gave Skillheart any prophecies lately, and then was surprised by Ice Dash appearing on her bad side. She shouted a large dog out with Gravelpaw and told him cats of all backgrounds and ages and skills called GalaxyClan their home. She was a bit bitter, though, scornfully watching the camp from a higher vantage point, and seemed to really agree with Fawnstar's opinions, flowing like two streams together as they trained and shouted another dog out. She promised Fawnstar that she would protect her with her life, and Fawnstar indeed started an official hunt for Wilbur, and blood warning in 3, 2, 1. Luckshine and her were the ones who finally found her and punished her, leaving her for dead proudly. Luckshine also chased off the rogues in a large group, and then you saw what happened with Spinel. After seeing her former apprentice dead, she was fully prepared to kill Spinel in revenge before they got buried and both died. Luckshine is a very complicated case for StarClan, and I did actually roll on if she went here. I could see an argument for the Dark Forest, honestly. I do think she meant well, but she did end up pretty violent in the end. And Luckshine is the last cat to die inside GalaxyClan, but we have a couple faces to check out before the living cats. Starting in the Dark Forest, here's Spinel, who died at 116 moons old. He watched his last litter with pride as one became a mediator and one was apprenticed to Basil. And he was mostly just going to be a normal warrior to his clan, probably getting close to settling down. His son Ghost Sheep got a mate, and Spinel was excited to be a grandpa, but then the next moon the border skirmish happened, and he killed Gravel Patch in defense, and he was outnumbered. After he was buried with Luckshine, there is a possibility they could have been saved, but Basil left him to die, not seeing it worth it to get involved. Spinel is actually avoiding the main Hornet Clan Dark Forest, considering that he was involved with orchestrating the death of one of their members, being Laurel. But there's Spinel. Before we go into the living cats, I do want to point out some big other clan deaths. Frecklestar of Viper Clan died this year of old age at 185 moons old. It was very early into the year, and I know Frecklestar isn't a former GalaxyClan cat, but he does have GalaxyClan blood, and he was very iconic, so I wanted to draw him in the StarClan section. There's a new era of Viper Clan starting, and we'll get to that later. Rest in peace to the Mad Lad. And lastly, Wastar of J-Clan also died at 133 moons old. He spent the year looking for many lost cats, including his daughter. He made sure his clan was up to date on battle moves, and he also antagonized the Hornet Clan cats, believing that they may have been responsible for 2 warriors' deaths. On Moon 9, he was mauled to death by dogs, potentially while in Two Lake Place looking for his lost clanmates. Considering that's the same moon that a J-Clan medic was asking GalaxyClan for aid, it is possible he did make it back to the clan, but just kept losing lives until all of his remaining 8 were gone. The J-Clan Dark Forest also seem to be active, and it's a little suspicious, but as of now, it's really hard to tell if they're involved. In the game code, it did say some cats were involved in this death and another death, but it really doesn't make sense unless there's some possession or blackmail or something, so I'm gonna wait it out and see if this was anything or if it's just clan gen not making sense and we can ignore it. But for now, rest in peace, Swastar, and let's get into the GalaxyClan living cats. Starting with Fawnstar, who is now 102 moons old, she started the year thinking she should probably form a proper alliance and decided to go on about a small favor that J-Clan did for GalaxyClan, praising Wastar at a gathering. With the later death of Wastar, this alliance is now shaky as she is more hesitant with the new leader. She encouraged Gravelpaw's training and was annoyed seeing cats laughing with Branchroot. She then decided to leave camp without telling anyone to try to go find Wilbur. Cats looked for her, not knowing where she went, and Red Noise is actually who found her where Fawnstar was roughing up a kitty pet a little bit, trying to get some information. After this, she officially started the hunt for Wilbur and was proud of her decision. She named 5 warriors on the same moon and seemed to be paying less attention to matching apprentices and mentors as she was a bit distracted. She found out Maxstar named one of her new kits Fawn Kit and was so mad. She kept talking over Maxstar at a gathering, sighing whenever she spoke and making off-color remarks. She's been getting into arguments with clanmates and yearning to fight, feeling proud when she left Wilbur to die. Then she caught the scent of unfamiliar cats, finding Snow Lion and her companion, who explained the Bug Clan situation. And something about that with Fawnstar's bloodline connection made her take pity, inviting them to the clan. Due to focusing on Wilbur hunting and other issues, the clan was not properly prepared for Leaf Bear, hence the prey issues and hungry cats, which led to the Gravel Patch, Luckshine, and Spinel deaths. She stared at Luckshine's body, unable to look away, and she barely stirred from her nest. Concerningly, she has instructed the medicine cats to have a supply of death berries at her disposal. After the death of Luckshine, she is really close to war of Hornet Clan. Hornet Clan pretty much sees them at war already. 2 warriors left to join Hornet Clan, and one of them was right after Luckshine died, and she did not expect them to leave. It really shocked her. Another revelation about someone who is in Moss Clan has upset Fawnstar so much that she took off her Moss Clan moss, and also forbid any others from getting the special glowing moss from Moss Clan cats when theirs needed to be replaced. She is icing out Moss Clan right now until they comply with basically what she wants. After this, Spindle Fox visited her in her dream and actually explained Viper Clan's past with the Dark Forest and how Hornet Clan lent them a hand to see how Fawnstar would react. It wasn't well, and Fawnstar declared that GalaxyClan stands alone and doesn't see any of the clans as allies. And with that, Spindle Fox actually took the life that he gave her back. It was for unity after all, and he felt that she was doing anything but that. He's upset that his dad died, but he knows Spinel was a bad cat at times, and the real last straw was how Fawnstar was just lashing out at every other clan, not just Hornet Clan. As for personal relations, Fawnstar does like her daughter, but there was a small dislike that never really went away, and she wasn't the most present parent, at most really commenting that she had a nice singing voice. She loves her brother, but doesn't take him seriously at times, which upsets him, and she still greatly dislikes Rowancaw and Bat Pounce, but they aren't in the hate range anymore. She also favors Volwhisker compared to Scaleheart. But next up, Rowancaw is still deputy at 122 moons old. Early in the year, she touched noses with Crested again, but it really seems like they are friends. Her daughter was hurt badly and she was very concerned, and she was wondering about Gravelpaw and then followed J-Clan scent to a cat who yelled about a dog and got flashbacks to Riverpaw, but luckily, the cat with her only got injured this time, didn't die. She wanted nothing more than to live by the warrior code and hoped to guide her clanmates down the right path as the Wilbur hunt started, that she did not approve of. She silently judged those that were very into it from afar, including Droplet Flow, who she kind of really dislikes right now. Droplet Flow also lied to her and dodged the question when Rowancaw was asking about it. And then Rowancaw was a little petty, putting Droplet Flow into extra patrols. She helped Scaleheart tend to the burial grounds and then was ambushed by these rogues that we keep seeing, also taking the lion's share of leading a dog out. She's really doing her best, but she is so tired. She asked Rain to remind her who already got on patrol, and I think she needs to retire but is nervous who would come after her. She also unofficially seems to take over training cats when their mentors are busy with babies, so there's that. Moving in the medicine cat den, 108-moon-old Scaleheart is here with her mate 102-moon-old Sneezetuft. Scaleheart had to gently inform a cat that they lost an ear to frostbite and their hearing was definitely affected. She gave Droplet Flow a heads up about something so she wouldn't trip, and made an attempt to get closer to Volwhisker, eating with him. Then she went out finding time that Volwhisker had struggled to find, along with some goldenrod. She said something in passing that got Fawnstar all worked up, and then she tried to stay quiet. And then she announced babies, continuing on her duties as long as she was able. Also catching Holokit climbing a bit too high. She hoped for a big litter and was scolded into taking up a nest. Together, her and Sneezetuft had 2 kits, which Sneezetuft was eager and purring to see. Considering she wanted a big litter, I wouldn't be surprised if they have another litter next year. She later saved a piece of fresh kill that she knew was one of their favorites, and Sneezetuft was also making sure to go out of his way to catch her favorite prey. She went right back to her duties once they were older, making sure to check on them with the new arrivals of Snow Lion and her companion. She listened to Bat Pound's vent and respected his opinions, and then she had a very concerning dream of oozing corruption and a weakness in her legs that she told Loudjoy about, who reassured her. She took a long walk to mourn Windpaw alone, and Sneezetuft picked the best spot in the burial grounds for their son. Skillheart was annoyed in her grief when she heard that Volwhisker chuckled about something, thinking that he might have been laughing at her even though he wasn't. As for Sneezetuff, he remembered how cute kits were while looking at HoloKit, and then he was seen touching noses with Crocus Whisker of Hornet Clan, who became a mediator this year. He comforted his son Windkit after a rough day, and then had a fun patrol with Droplet Flow. Then he was bitten by a snake and yet again survived. This boy probably has developed a resistance to snake bites by now. He was thinking about his life choices enabling Fawnstar and suggested maybe giving one of his kids the Bat Pounce to mentor, since he figured that he could use a pick-me-up to stop feeling so targeted by Fawnstar. Sadly, Windpaw then died, but he doesn't really hold it against Bat Pounce. His sister doesn't seem to take his worries seriously, as he tried to scold her over the Moss Clan ban, but she just didn't listen. He also was ambushed by rogues and was comforting a stressed Scaleheart. Smokehorn motivated him to get out of his nest after Windpaw's death, and a kit was offering to help groom a hard-to-reach place on him, which is very cute. He also helped a very tired Roenka home after she led the big dog out, and both him and Scaleheart seem to be slowing down as they get older. Moving on to 56-moon-old Volwhisker, he is now mates with the 59-moon-old Droplet Flow, but they aren't doing the best. He feels security with her, and she feels reliance on him, but they both really dislike each other. But starting with Volwhisker, he couldn't find any time while out with Loudpaw, though she did cheer him up a little. He was kind of annoyed that Scaleheart later succeeded in finding it. He was nice in training Loudpaw and enjoyed her energy, and then he got a vague omen that he thought about and investigated, finding a small family of rogues that he assumed would be a problem. Seeing that the group seemed to have a small water supply that they actively used, he crushed death berries and mixed it into the water, as well as adding hemlock roots and other poisons that he could think of. Droplet Flow did notice that he was washing his paws a lot around that time, but didn't think too much about it, as they started dating. The poison water supply killed a couple of the rogues, and some survivors noticed the tampering and scented GalaxyClan, putting together that it was their fault, which led to them killing Spotted Stripe and attacking others throughout this entire year. The surviving rogues are a family: Selkirk, his son Starling, and his nephew Minty. Volwhisker tried to do damage control, staying on Fawnstar's good side and asking Yucca Leaf important questions, trying to figure out Wilbur stuff. He actually gave Frostypaw a piece of crow food that he claimed was by accident after seeing that Fawnstar was annoyed with the apprentice. And he was also thinking about having kits, but Droplet Flow found out about what he did with the rogues and yelled at him. He's upset that she's mad at him for, in his eyes, protecting the clan, and these two are very messy. He ended the year pondering about StarClan, and as for Droplet Flow, she was hanging out with the apprentices, and she was the one who found the Deathberry bush, warning a patrol about it. She was unafraid on patrols and was on the side that was willing to hunt Wilbur down. She tried seeking out Eyestash's help with her relationship issues and has been asking Loudjoy more about Volwhisker, talking to herself as she thinks over if this is worth it, and annoyed he even brought up kits right now. She told Fawnstar what Volwhisker did, but instead of being upset, that's when Fawnstar said to keep a Deathberry stash for her. Droplet Flow was giving Gravel Patch's apprentice after his death, and she knows the kid is struggling and tried to ask if there was anything she could do to help, but she just kind of got iced out in the end. Last in the Medicine Cat Den is 19-moon-old newly named Childish Loudjoy, who is a rename on my posts. She has ghost sense and is a good climber. As an apprentice, she wanted to make Fawnstar proud and cheered up Volwhisker with some herb puns. She was playing hide and seek with HoloKit and excitedly waved her tail around when she found Plantain, getting praised by her mentor. She wondered how Red Noise was doing and gave Rain some exercises to reduce her leg pain. She briefly had white cough and then got distracted rolling in some catmint with Cougar Thistle. Finally, at 16 moons old, her heart pounded as Volwhisker gave her her full name. She's also worried about Scaleheart's vision, but reassured the head medicine cat. Again, she's honestly just a real sweetheart. On to the mediators. Eyestash is 140 moons old, and I was gonna retire her, but then Frosty Snout died, so she's still active, just a little less so. She did a lot of mediating and hanging out with some of the younger cats, quietly just watching them. She was sad that she couldn't spend time with Dahliapaw, and that came out of nowhere, so I'm going to assume that she saw Dahliapaw's spirit in the crystals and it reminded her. Maybe hanging out a bit. She helped Fawnstar think of a plan to get some dogs out of the territory and was listening to Bat Pounce telling stories while he was injured. She did catch Greencough in the outbreak, but she survived. She's mostly tired, and I really hope I can let her retire next year. Next up is the 105-moon-old Minnow Spirit, and don't worry, he's still with Spirit Ice, but she is actually in the nursery expecting their second litter. He heard HoloKit say something mean and tried to correct the behavior, and he was fascinated by Frosty Snout's stories and couldn't help smiling seeing Red Noise smile. He praised Cougarpaw's talent and seemed to be relatively happy, chatting with camp guards and settling into family life. And I will say he hates Bat Pounce, but in the new update that translated into fear, not hate. So there's something to note about that. He tried to resolve some of the disputes with Moss Clan, but that whole situation is a mess, and he promised the kits that he would protect them when the time came. The moon before Sparrow Ice announced another litter, so I think they were definitely in the planning phase by then. He's sad to lose his brother Pumpkin Glow and his apprentice Frosty Snout, and I hope he can get another apprentice. He's at least looking forward to the next litter in a moon. But starting with the warriors, we have Rain, who is now 83 moons old. Hickory Frost is also currently in the nursery with the rest of their kits because they had another litter, 2 of which he sadly saw in StarClan. First thing that happened was that Rain got caught by a dog with Rowan Caw and got a nasty bite wound on her leg. It healed, but ended up permanently damaged, with the medicine cats having her pad back and forth across camp for some physical therapy. Her leg is often sore, including right now, and she was coming up with a catchy song with Honey Paw. Her and True Cinder helped bring some ViperClan kits back, and she had her kits with Hickory Frost, Jasmine being the donor again, and sadly, Jasmine died shortly after. They actually named one of their kits after Rain's siblings, so that was really sweet. She was really grateful after Yucca Leaf saved one of her kits from a river and was wondering how he was doing after all that happened. They were also discussing the policies that they would do if they ran the clan instead. And she spent some time with Bat Pounce, understanding each other a bit better, and they seemed friendly. After the death of Chammy's kit and Lake Kit, she sat up all night at their vigil. But next up is 63 moon old Downy Pelt. She lost almost all her kids this year. That was horrible. She also started the year trying to save a kitty pet being thrown into a lake, but the only thing that happened was Smokepaw got hurt. As Fawnstar ordered a hunt on Wilbur, Downy Pelt was being a bit sassy as she would quiz her clanmates on the warrior code, basically showing them it is clearly being broken right now. And she took Nightspot and Cougar Thistle out, but they were kind of arguing, so she put mom mode on and told them to stop quarreling like kittens. She also took on the rogue solo, and she seems to be trying to stick to her morals and be a good warrior while her life is falling apart. I really hope nothing happens to her or her last kid next year. Losing 3 of them all on the same moon is horrible. I feel so bad. She does have a crush on Volwhisker still, as well as a new one that is on the new face in the clan. So we'll see that later. Moving on to 39 moon old Yucca Leaf. He got some advice training Nightpaw from his dad Pumpkin Glow, and then was feeling down as more Wilbur conversations and decisions were being made, but he stayed out of it. He prevented something from falling on Gold Kit, and then he showed Nightpaw an eagle's nest, and really admired his willingness to go on with the struggles he was dealing with. He loudly corrected another clanmate when they said something wrong, and he was bragging about his exploits, and then sadly was leading a patrol when he found a dead kitten, and I was actually gonna let him adopt that kitten if they were alive and join the clan, so I think the sight of it kind of hit him a bit. He also got ambushed by rogues, and when one of Rain and Hickory Frost kits got out, he was the one who saved her from the river she fell in, which was during a very cold leaf bear, so that was a miracle that kit is fine, honestly. He was wondering why StarClan had to take Pumpkin Glow so soon, and he also really dislikes one of the kits for some reason. It doesn't really make sense, so I'm going to try to fix that with mediators. Next is Bat Pounce, and he has been through it. He was on the patrol where they failed to save a kitty pet and Smokepaw got hurt, with him helping carry her back. Fawnstar always tries to avoid making sure he's a patrol leader, but Loudpaw was sweet, trusting him with some tasks. Then he saved Spotted Stripe from a dog, but he got badly injured, and those two seem like really good friends. While he was down and couldn't really do much, the Wilbur hunt was going on, and he basically got told that they killed his mom, so his leg didn't heal the best, and he has a weaker leg now from how he was impatient and upset. The world seemed smaller to him as he looked to the horizon, yearning for his mother that he thought he would never see again. During this time is when Sneezetuff suggested he got an apprentice, and why Bat Pounce got Windpaw. He seemed to really enjoy it, and I'm so sad that Bat Pounce was there in the same storm, cuddled against him and Windpaw, as well as his father Pumpkin Glow when they died. He was debating leaving, honestly, but some cats make him feel like it's worth staying. To name one, he has a crush on True Cinder, and he picked out the best prey to share with her, but he really dislikes Fawnstar for obvious reasons, and he's unsure if he'd ever be trusted with another apprentice as long as she has her bias against him. But next up is the new face in clan, 35 moon old confident Raven Cave, who has a keen eye and is a great climber. He's also a trans man. As mentioned, him and Snowlion are from the now basically dead Bug Clan. He's not related to Fawnstar at all, but what he didn't mention to Fawnstar is that he once held a high rank in Bug Clan. He was a medicine cat, and he got exiled from his dying clan after he killed his leader. The leader refused to see that the clan was no more in his eyes, and he hoped that without the leader around, the small scraps of cats left of the clan would listen to him, and they'd all leave together like how many others left before then. and then they would find a new, better home. But they turned against him except Snowlion, who followed. So this is a secret that he holds, and as he looked around his new clan, he is seeing corruption and thinks that he is the smartest cat in clan, but he's keeping his mouth shut and carries guilt for what he actually did in his old clan. He's afraid of never actually finding a home. Despite joining weak, he's been one to step up, with Ice Dash noticing he's always the first to volunteer for dangerous tasks. He was sad to lose Snowlion when he had a crush on her, though he has noticed Downy Pelt is pretty, and he's trying to focus on the future. I'm really curious how the next year will go for him since he hasn't been here long. Moving on to 33-moon-old True Cinder, she was hoping her next apprentice would be just like Cougar Paw, and then Spotted Stripe died, and she kept thinking her sister was only sleeping, which is so heartbreaking. She brought lost Viper Clan kits back with Rain, and then got Hush Paw, who was a self-conscious apprentice that she comforted and helped out. Then he later died, so that's really sad. So True Cinder is just not really doing the best with the cats that she is close to this year. She had a nice chat across the border with her family in Hornet Clan, and despite the hostility, she seems to keep in touch. She also fought rogues, and she tried to advise Gracklepaw on patrol, but she ignored her and then nearly got hurt. And in general, while everything kind of sucks right now, True Cinder seems to be doing her best and sticking with her elderly parent. She also has a quite big crush on Bat Pounce, and I'm really shipping the two. I think she appreciated how he was a good friend of her sister, and that might be how they got closer themselves. Now onto some new warriors. Starting with the 22-moon-old Smokehorn, who is a strict and clever cat who picked up the Great Healer skill while probably being in the Medicine Cat den for so long. Blood warning in 3, 2, 1. But she was kicked into a tree while the patrol tried to save a kitty pet, and Crowshine distracted the two-leg while she was carried back. Unfortunately, she broke her back and many cats were worried, but after a long time of healing, she did eventually get better, and she doesn't even have a scar. But while stuck in the Medicine Cat den, she tried to do too much at once and asked Frosty Snout for some help. Houndsnout was worried that she was overworking when all Smokepaw was doing was getting ticks off cats, and she grumbled when Fawnstar signed a word wrong during her naming ceremony, but she knew better than to correct her, as she was named Smokehorn for her perspective at 15 moons old, while she was still injured. She was chatting with Scaleheart about her day and quietly watching the others. She was so excited when she was able to walk around freely again after most of the year, and cutely, she's really close with Downy Pelt, her big sister and former mentor. Next up is 20-moon-old Nightspot, who is a good speaker. He ended up losing an ear to the frostbite as well as some of his hearing, and he and Smokehorn don't really seem like friends, but they do have a mutual respect for each other that's pretty small, but that's cute. He had nightmares about a two-leg trap, and then Pumpkin Glow and Yucca Leaf helped him get back to training after losing his ear, and he wondered if Pumpkin Glow was a good apprentice. He didn't think he was performing to Yucca Leaf's standards as he noticed how down his mentor was, but it had nothing to do with him. Yucca Leaf trained him well, but Nightspot was nervous when his training was over at 13 moons old and didn't think he was ready as he was named for his composure, wondering if that truly described him. He decided not to pursue a dangerous dog he saw across the border and then almost got lost among the two-leg nests when he was actually looking for his biological mom. He argued with Cougar Fistle on patrol and was embarrassed when his mom, Downy Pelt, reprimanded him. And then he wailed seeing the bodies of his brothers all in one moon, not bothering to get out of his nest the next day. He's really going for it. But next up is 19-moon-old responsible Honeyram, who is a great climber. She wondered if she could train late and then asked Houndsnout to teach her some advanced battle moves so Honeypaw could be the best before Houndsnout would be out of commission for a bit with her new kits. Later, Honeypaw was wondering if cats laugh with her or at her, and she's always up for learning new things when it came to her mentor at least. She did trick Shrew-Cinder into letting her sit out training by pretending she landed bad in training. She brought Scaleheart some new bedding, both to be nice and as another excuse to go visit her sister in the Medicine Cat den. And Minnow Spirit could hear the truth in her words as she described protecting others. Fawnstar said that she showed more maturity than most apprentices, always offering to take the worst apprentice jobs, and counting the prey pile to know how much we needed, and she named her Honeyram for her initiative. Soon after, Honeyram had the apprentices engaged in tall tales, and the clan noticed that her and Bearpelt seemed to share patrols. Looks like they're friends, that's cute. Sadly, she was there when Yucca Leaf found the dead kit, and she briefly got a running nose, and then was hit hard by all the death, so she's in a bit of shock right now. Moving on to our youngest warriors, 14-moon-old Lonesome Bearpelt, who is an impressive climber, and I actually forgot to mention last year that he rolled to have selective mutism, which by the way is in the game now, so I can actually give him that. But to explain that, it just became more apparent as he got older. As a kid, he thought about talking to Steppaw, but changed his mind, choosing instead to quietly talk to some bugs. He was apprenticed to Hickory Frost and wondered if this was the right path, and she had a nice conversation with J-Clan, unaware that they just stole some prey while Bearpaw didn't really seem to want to engage. He briefly had fleas, and when he does talk, he fumbles his words a bit sometimes, but Hickory Frost and Cougar Thistle helped him boost his confidence in training. He was wondering how his sister Hollowpaw was doing, and then took a walk alone to catch a bird. He was named Bearpelt at 11 moons old for his independence, and awkwardly thanked his clanmates as he weed for the crowd to slink away and be alone for a while. He really likes to hunt alone, it seems, and he did find his dad a little annoying, but he loves him. I hope he gets along with the new litter his parents are expecting, but on to his sister. Hollowmoth is childish and a beloved kit sitter. She pushed through a headache to play as a kit, and Scaleheart made sure she didn't climb too high. She tried to sneak out of camp, but she did actually need to be coaxed forward, as she was apprenticed to the fresh new warrior Steptrot. She mentioned that she had a conversation with a kitty pet asking if that was being disloyal, and was a little confused by Steptrot's seeming confusion, as he dismissed the question, not knowing about his kitty pet biomom that he has. She was bouncing around on patrols and dreading more boring apprentice duties. She also stole a Moss Clan rabbit and chattered at birds. She asked Droplet Foe for hunting techniques and fought off a group of rogues with her mentor. She was named Hollowmoth for her intrigue, and then, following in the Steptrot case, she was immediately given an apprentice on the same moon she was named, where they then taunted Hornet Clan but felt awkward when the Hornet Clan cats were very unfazed. She was also playing and making up a new clan with that same apprentice, and I really think Hollowmoth needed some more time before getting an apprentice, but I guess Fonstar isn't putting too much care into picking. She also is currently crushing on Nightspot, which I think is really cute, and I hope they get together. But onto the apprentices now. Starting with Houndsnout and Cranedapple's kits, Bluepaw is 10 moons old and a playful lover of stories who is interested in clan history. She was a polite kit, but she went missing for a few days, getting brought to Two Leg Place, where Jasmine found her and brought her back, with Red Noise meeting up with them. On that same moon, Jasmine was envying the strong kinship that clan cats had, and that makes me sad they died. They could have potentially joined. Then Blue Kit was helping clean the nursery and was apprenticed to Sparrow Eyes, where they had to leave a crying abandoned kitty pet behind, something that confused her why they weren't helping. Hornet Clan saw her attempt to fail and steal a rabbit, and Bluepaw was in awe of Ice Ash's conflict resolution skills. She kept telling herself that her moms and brothers were only sleeping, and she's pretty sad right now, but at least she has her sister. Gracklepaw is fierce and quick to help. She has light sensitivity, and her mom Houndsnout was actually teaching her the techniques of being able to do things with your eyes closed. That is something from her mentor line, going all the way back to when Hollowstar decided to start teaching that. She also tried to sneak out of camp as a kit, waiting for an opportunity to sprint away, and wanted to get to know Frosty Snout better. She does have a sweet side fixing up Sparrow Eyes' nest, and she was a vengeful apprentice given to Gravel Patch, with them getting stuck in a storm that came pretty early on in the year, on her first day out. She angrily clawed up the ground deep in thought, and thought about how awful kitty pet food must be. She was in awe of Minnospirit's conflict resolution skills, and was reveling in a violent battle against the rogues, getting really into it with her teeth bared and claws out. She was expecting the same kind of victory when they had the scuffle with Spinel, so she was devastated when Gravel Patch was killed and Luckshine got buried as well. She dug in the snow crying out alone, trying to get to them until a patrol found her. Then her moms and brother died, and she would sneak to sleep into Bluepaw's nest after the deaths. She shut down her new mentor Droplet Foe's attempts to get her to open up by muttering to please keep the patrol focused on training. She really seems like she thought being a warrior would be all epic battles and excitement of justice, but maybe in more violent ways at times, and I really think it's Fonstar's influence over the clan as a whole. She is really shook up now, so I hope that she'll do better next year. Right now she has a stomachache alongside all the grief. But 8-moon-old Goldpaw is troublesome and quick to make peace, as well as confident with words. She's the last kit of Scaleheart and Sneezetuft, and she was impulsive as a kit, pestering Cranedapple for badger rides and inviting Windkit to play with her, making sure he was involved. She nearly crashed her nose into Hollowmoths in excitement when she was made an apprentice, and was confused by Hornet Clan cats that she were told were so bad were not reacting to them taunting across the border, picking up on her mentor getting embarrassed by the lack of reaction. She cracked her pads while out and stayed in camp for the meantime on guard duty. She asked Gracklepaw to wake her up as she overslept, and was worrying Smokehorn was overworking. She's sad her brother died, but I hope Goldpaw will do well next year. Into the Elder's Den, Red Noise is still here at 134 moons old. As mentioned, they went to Two Leg Place and talked to kitty pet Caesar, looking for Fawnstar, and side note, Caesar is an outsider that has existed since he attacked Rushwind a long time ago, and he is currently 276 moons old. Anyway, Caesar ran away when he saw the rest of a patrol showing up. They couldn't get anything done with the heat as they went back to Two Leg Place looking for Blue Kit, meeting up with Jasmine as I mentioned earlier. They insisted that their daughter's spotted stripe wasn't gone and then was staring into space. Then they were pointedly reminding Kat that their ticks hadn't been seen too, being annoyed as they had to heal from tick bites. They were seen arguing at the MossClan border more so because of something there that was complicating relations in a way that was just annoying to live with. And they caught Greencough in the outbreak but survived. Sadly, their brother Wastar did die, and Red Noise never thought that they would outlive him considering he had 9 lives, so it's hitting a bit hard. I hope Red Noise gets some elder companions next year. There's a ton of older cats that I just haven't retired yet. Part of me wonders if maybe they feel a little pressured not to retire, but we'll see. Into the nursery now. Starting with 63-moon-old Hickory Frost with her 3 remaining kits who are now 4 moons old. Attention-seeking Frozen Kit, who is a bit feisty trying to guard camp and sharpening her claws. Know-it-all Jasmine Kit, named after their donor and Rain's sibling. She apparently likes to play as Minnow Spirit when she's playing pretend, and Loudjoy noted her willingness to help. She also offered to groom a hard-to-reach place for Sneeze Tuff while he was grieving, which is cute. She's a sweetheart. And Charming Brush Kit, who is the one that fell into the river and Yucca Leaf saved her. Afterwards, she apologized to Fawnstar. After that, she was whimpering in her sleep and then wondering who her mentor would be. I think she's hoping for Yucca Leaf, but if I chose myself, that's who I would choose, but it really is up to the game, so we'll see. But as for Hickory Frost, she got Bear Paw and did her best with her less outgoing apprentice. She went to sleep early and made sure to treat him like everyone else to boost his confidence. Earlier, she thought about how lucky she was to have Cranedapple as a sister, so it's so sad that Cranedapple died and 2 of her kids died. She was slipping out of camp to visit their graves and going on a training patrol of Rain where they didn't really train and instead kind of just sat with the grief together, I think. She's doing her best for the remaining kits, and it seems like she's the closest to Brush Kit, probably since she almost died, and Hickory Frost may be a bit more protective of her now. Last in the clan is 107-moon-old Sparrow Eyes, who is expecting another litter and will also give birth the first moon of next year. She hasn't retired yet, and I know in-game it's because she still has an apprentice Blue Paw, but I wonder if Fawnstar was trying to prevent her retirement by giving her an apprentice. Anyway, earlier she gave a wonderful speech to clanmates boosting morale, and then Houndsnout gave her some forget-me-not flowers. She did her best to train Blue Paw even as they had to leave a kitty pet behind, and she purred when her kids were named. Despite currently having an apprentice, she did indeed announce that she was expecting kits, and she's hoping the litter will be small, probably because she was looking at Hickory Frost and Rain's litter of 5. She feels overwhelmed at the idea of a big litter, and she is on the older side, so she'll probably have a small one anyway. The clan was shocked by her wails when Pumpkin Glow died, and it really seemed like they were close, and I find that pretty cute that she was friends with her mate's brother. But she ran out of camp to process it, and then apparently saw her parent at the border, but they're dead, so I'm wondering if this was their spirits briefly, as she looked longingly over the border at MossClan after Fawnstar became very anti-MossClan. I hope Sparrow Eyes gets to retire next year, but on to the other clans. Starting fittingly with MossClan, Skystar has done her best this year to take care of her clan, but she also got 2 kits for her mate Cloudy Chomp, but sadly, one of them died to kitten cough, and on the same moon, Skystar saw one of her clanmates get killed by a dog. She also is really stressed with the new hostile conflict with GalaxyClan after she took in an injured cat that one of her clanmates found. It's pretty messy. Leap Swirl is still the deputy. He had a rougher year hiding from storms and trying to slip into his nest at any opportunity. He did catch a lot of prey, but then his mom Streak Bumble died after falling into a sinkhole, and he lashed out at anyone that came to check on him, saying that he was fine. Then he talked to a cat Flintmore over potential StarClan dream, and he was wondering who would give him 9 lives, and he's probably wondering if Streak Bumble would be there if he actually does end up leader. Model Iris retired as a medicine cat, so the current oldest is Alpheus. He had a relatively normal year as a medicine cat. His daughter did have kits as Skystar, and sadly he did lose a grand kit. But in general, a very normal year, and he has a small crush on Tin Willow now after he caught him when he fell. As for Tin Willow, he has some clashes with his mate Stormywing, but they got cute again later when Stormywing convinced him to take a break and praised him, making Tin Willow blush. And then he grieved Ashleep, who I'll mention now, the mediator passed away from old age. Then he mourned Icy Pelt, who also died this time of a heart attack though. He did collect some death berries, but he hasn't done anything with them, and he falls on patrol a lot, and it seems with both of his crushes, Alpheus and Model Iris, are always the ones catching him, so there's that. Moving on to Chestnut days, she got an apprentice and went on a few herb gathering patrols with her crush Perchdew. She was a bit icy telling Model Iris that it was unlikely that she would get a vision and grumbling over warriors asking for herbs for a bellyache, as well as scorning the idea of needing help from anyone, but she does have a nice side where she respected Leafswirl's efforts as deputy, so there's that. A new face is Sunpaw, who hasn't been named yet despite her age. She has a weak leg with a twisted paw, and when young, she boosted morale with a speech. She seems to take her training seriously and snorted when an apprentice asked her to show her death berries, saying that she wasn't that mouse-brained. She felt ready to take care of any patients, but she's currently grieving her sister who died trapped on patrol. While I mentioned Ashleep died of old age, she did have a Mediator successor who was her daughter. Burdock Grass is also a Dreamwalker and probably got training elsewhere considering that she was on her own for pretty much all of it. She was defensive about needing help after Ashleep's death, and later got attacked by rats where she lost some of her hearing. She lazes in her nest, tired from being the only Mediator and probably some unresolved issues of her own. And a dark forest cat was watching her with a sly smile, so there's that's a little concerning. Here's hoping she gets the apprentice to help out. Her sister actually found the next cat. So Wilbur joined MossClan. She's 84 moons old now, and she was greeting a GalaxyClan patrol awkwardly, but was stunned when they descended on her immediately with claws out, sprinting off just in time. The hunt for her took a couple moons where she was hiding in her den and knew full well that they could find her now. And eventually Fawnstar and Luckshine attacked and left her for dead, believing that she was indeed dead. But then Mink Ears found her, and she was brought to MossClan. She knew she couldn't go back to her two legs, and she was afraid of GalaxyClan, so she's here now. Fawnstar did yell at Skystar and say what Wilbur did, and when Skystar asked her, Wilbur didn't deny it, but asked for forgiveness and not to be hurt again. Skystar is currently keeping an eye on her, but feels the way GalaxyClan was dealing with her was just way too brutal, and due to this decision, Fawnstar has declared that they are basically enemies now. Wilbur doesn't have any major connections to MossClan yet, and seems to be hesitant to get close to cats, but we'll see next year. Now on to J-Clan. With Waspstar dead, Stepstar is now the new leader, which, considering early in the year he had a patrol secretly agreeing that he wasn't a good deputy, we'll see how he does. He grieved a warrior and told Splinter Cave about a dream he had, which now I'm slightly wondering if that was a warning of Waspstar's death, because that was 2 moons later. Then he became leader, and while he had White Cough, he was thinking about the warrior code. Immediately, Oliver had complaints about him. Then his sister Wildbeam died, in a slightly suspicious way being found on the territory. Yeah, we lost a medicine cat too. And he's currently grieving and thinking about his life choices. The new deputy is on the older side, an insecure cat named Garlicfall, and he was actually missing most of the year after Two Legs kidnapped a bunch of cats. Basically returning and almost immediately getting promoted. He did help chase out a small dog, but he's also grieving. Timmy also died this year of green cough, so the head medicine cat is Mantis Breeze now. Timmy freaked out saying Mantis Breeze had a dream of death and destruction, and then Mantis Breeze's mate was kidnapped and later died while lost, so Mantis Breeze grieved, taking a bit of his nest for his own. He looked dazed, but did help out a queen that he found back to the camp. He got yellow cough, and despite all the grief, took an apprentice out on patrol, who was curious about herbs, and while he didn't know how to comfort her, worries about whether this interest was detrimental to her warrior training, he did make her mood a little lighter. Splinter Cave had a relatively normal year, collecting herbs and attempting to soothe a couple warriors who were worried about their legacy. He was shaken by grief and all the death, but did his best, also narrowly missing being hit by a monster on the Thunder Path. He did reject Sleepy Gale, who asked him out, and currently he has frostbite. Calypso was lost the first half of the year and came back to his co-worker dead. Magpie Freckle was murdered when a Kettlinger lured her into a two-leg trap, so he was grieving her. He tried to get back into mediation duties, and then after Wastar died, he immediately became mates with Slipdawn, Wastar's mate. And I don't think that was out of nowhere, probably more of a Sushi and Ronka after Pike died situation. But doesn't look good on paper, but that's Calypso. Both him and his relative Scaleheart seem to date widows. Also, everyone in the clan seems to think that Slipdawn is the prettiest cat in clan. Everyone has a crush on her, so I kind of expected her to take a new mate if Wastar died. Silttooth was also lost, and she came back home the same moon as Calypso, so maybe they were together? She was a bit doubtful of Stepdusk as deputy, but beyond that, she really was just mediating this year. Fumbletingle was also lost and came back way later at almost the end of the year, so he really didn't get up to anything too interesting. Happy he's back though, and I'm still shipping him in Splinter Cave. Here's hoping. Now on to Viper Clan. Frecklestar passed, so as of now we have Mothstar. On the older side for a new leader, but I really like him. He is a handful though, immediately pranking his deputy by swapping his prey with crow food. Rude. And making jokes on patrols. He's a more silly leader than Frecklestar, and you can see why even without the Dark Forest knowledge, Fawnstar wasn't too excited to seek an alliance with Viper Clan. He's also deaf, so he really prioritizes his clan knows all the tail signals and their sign language, so I wonder if future Viper Clan will end up being even sneakier in battles. He still likes to sneak out and sleep in his brother's nest despite having one in the leader's den, and briefly he had White Cough. Side note, I decided Viper Clan's true Star Clan spot that they had not been visiting until recently is the end of a snake-like river in a small area under a bridge with train tracks. With the new update coming out, we got a new territory, the bridge one. And I've decided Viper Clan is going to move out of the dump finally. They're trading trash for living next to a train, And fun fact, the game calls that the Thunder Snake, so I think it's perfect. He is the first cat in playing ViperClan to get his lives from StarClan. And he also has multiple boyfriends, as this year he got a new one and is the center of a Hinge poly. So onto his new mediator boyfriend. It's Gorsglare. He grieved his dad Frecklestar and wondered why StarClan had to take him, but he was focused on mediation and helped set up his sister Treefang with someone. He gave the new deputy advice, and as mentioned, he is now dating the leader. Gorsglare is still a bit of a hater in general in the clan, but we'll try to fix that. Now for Moffstar's other mate, his type is mediators, it seems. Bonefade saved his kit when they fell into a river, and side note, that kit later left to join their sibling in Hornet Clan, but Bonefade was cute with Kits, also pretending not to notice Horse Kit sneaking up on him. He got heat exhaustion while waiting to talk to a J-Clan patrol, and then helped set up his mate with Gorsglare, noticing that the crush was existing and being okay with him dating multiple cats. He's also a silly cat, as he wanted to shrink down and investigate an anthill. Now, after all his boyfriends, let's finally go look at Moffstar's deputy. Meet Gusdream, who on the first moon of being deputy, tripped and landed in daisies, keeping them for decoration, and then Moffstar was pranking him. He seems like a boy failure, and he tried to set a good example for cats. He is mates with Fallenute, one of Frecklestar's daughters. But he actually dislikes her a little bit, but also loves her. It's really complicated. I hope that doesn't go bad, especially since they currently have newborns in the nursery, and she has lasting grief. He also trained an apprentice this year, and we'll see how the year goes. Now onto the medicine cat den. Gullheart sadly died to a badger, so Tunnel Creek is now the head medicine cat. He got attacked by rats, asking his mom Sparrow Dance for help, and went on a couple patrols with her, though he sometimes finds her annoying. He was sad at Gullheart's death, but referenced the canon books on patrol when he talked about how cats search for a new home during the Long Dawn, and how their success was owed to many things, including the herb that they were gathering. Side note, I think this is ViperClan debating if they were going to move or not. He got a new apprentice, and he gave him snapdragons to wear. He snapped at her when she was having doubts, saying that he didn't pick her just for her to give up, and she was chosen for a reason, so she had to pull herself together. This sounds harsh, but it did reassure her. But his new apprentice is Flashpaw, one of Bonefade and Moffstar's kits. The thought of fighting made her shiver, so she chose this path and got black cicada wings as a congratulations, though Gullheart was a little jealous. He was her mentor before he died, and she had a lot of doubts after his death, but she's doing her best and is a sweetheart. Moving on to Cliff Creek, he started off good, but then he had doubts about Moffstar, and then he and his mate Cobaltfield decided to start a family, and Stoneshell said she could surrogate, but then she got kidnapped, and while they found her later, she could not make it out, so she slipped them their one kit Vine kit at least. Sadly, that kit died later of kitten cough, so Cliff Creek is just having a very rough year. Nothing is going well for him. Sedge Dance died of old age, so moving on to Sparrow Dance. She did her best even when she made some mistakes, refusing to apologize when she was in the wrong. She brought the Hornet Clan medicine cat to camp when they needed help with Stoneshell, and then tried to hang out with her kids where she could. One of them is currently lost, so I hope we get them back. Also, they don't seem to have the best relationship with Sparrow Dance, so I hope we can fix that. She did get a new girlfriend, though, dating Treefang, another one of Frecklestar's kids. I swear, as soon as Frecklestar dies, all of his kids get mates. And lastly, Stoneshell is currently lost. Like I mentioned, she surrogated for her brother and his mate and was happy at least Vinekit got out. It's so sad that Vinekit didn't make it, and I hope she gets home next year. And Cliff Creek left her a clover at least, so there's that. Now moving on to Hornet Clan. Maxstar had a new litter with the help of a donor and named one Fawnkit, as both Fawnstar and her antagonized each other all year. She was upset at Turbo's death, and she also seems to potentially be haunted by Scaleplume, the cat she killed last year, as she's been hearing her voice. She's also a grandma now, and she believes GalaxyClan is already at war with Hornet Clan after seeing what happened to Spinel, seeing that as the last straw. Saffron Flame got a boyfriend and is dating Curl Dream now. He took on the lion's share of chasing out a large dog twice and found some orange flower bulbs to wear. His mate also has orange fur, so I think that's cute. He was on a patrol where a poisoned rabbit was caught, and a kit died from that later. He's really trying his best, and I hope we get Saffron Star soon. Maxstar, it's okay, you can go away, it's okay. Medicine cat-wise, Cherubi Branch found a queen in her kits while out with Milk and was listening to stories about Scaleplume. She was worried Spinel was overworking and is actually a giant crush on Bumblebuzz right now. She still kinda sucks though, not liking most of her co-workers beyond Ghost Sheep. Milk seemed to be thinking of other life paths, wondering what he'd do as leader, wondering if he should have been a mediator, and envying the deputy position. Maxstar gave him maple seeds to wear, and I was wondering if Maxstar was trying to take a bit of GalaxyClan's traditions with accessories to taunt Fawnstar even more. He decided to take on a new apprentice and is waiting for an omen from StarClan. Ghost Sheep has a new mate named Ottersteep, who is Maxstar's daughter, as well as 2 kits, Lamb Kit and Cinder Kit. He had them at the end of the year. On a walk, actually. Good thing he's a medicine cat. He was also being a typical sibling when he teased his brother Buckfleck by taking the prey that he was saving just because he was saving it. He also reassured his mate that her legacy would be great and her star would be shining the brightest. He sad over his dad's death, especially knowing Spinel won't see the kids grow up. Fawnpaw is Maxstar's kid and was chosen to be a medicine cat by Milk. They don't really like each other, but they do respect each other, so there's that. Doesn't seem to cause too many problems. She is a bit rude at times, walking away from boring conversations, but she's also really sweet too, showing off to kits and seeming to learn to enjoy being a medicine cat. Now Hornet Clan actually has mediators! Maxstar's mate, Crocus Whisker, came out of retirement to be a mediator on Moon 1 of the year, and she's collecting more. She had her kits, and while she finds the job emotionally draining, it seems she has stepped up to set a good example for the future, saying that the clan really needed a mediator. She got poisoned but survived, and accidentally made a relation between Maxstar and one of their daughters worse, but like I said, she had apprentices this year. Multiple. Starting with Rocky Blaze, one of Bumblebuzz and Spinel's kits. She seems sweet and like she wants to do great, worrying about her mentor, who is old and concerned over her brother, who got poisoned twice this year. She did her best to comfort others over Spinel's death despite her own grief, and I hope she does well. And the next mediator is brand new. She's 6 moons old. Long Stretch Paw. She lost a sister to tainted prey, and it seemed to really affect her with nightmares as a kit. Stretch Kit had been sick from the same prey, so I wonder if she wanted to do something more peaceful in life. Rooting for her, she's just a baby. Now Basil. She did a lot of battle training throughout the year, and then got Buckpaw, one of Spinel's kids, as an apprentice. Despite him getting poisoned twice, that was mostly bad luck, and she did well training him and seems to enjoy him. Which is really troubling when Spinel was buried, and she left him for dead, not deeming it worth to try to help. She does not get involved with anything unless ordered to, it seems, and mostly looks out for herself, so yeah, selfish. Next up is Bumblebuzz, who lost his mate, but he's a grandpa now at least. He found the abandoned kit, Gold Kit, and rushed him back where he was community raised, and has been battle training and chasing out dogs. He's proud of his kids, and he had an awkward GalaxyClan patrol, but still brought back some lost kits who got out. After Spinel's death, he found out there was a cat in GalaxyClan who had a similar story, Forbidden Love, that he once did, and he invited them to join the clan despite the issues it would cause. He's been wanting to spend time alone, though. Next up is Cone Poppy, and just pretend you don't see the face in the corner for a second. He also got a mate this year, another one of Maxstar's kids, Ember Runner this time, and spent a lot of time with Smoke. He was missing his litter mates, and later when he found out Spotted Stripe died, he felt horrible. But then another one joined the clan to be with him. He still briefly had heat exhaustion, but he had a great time with his sister again, resharing their old inside jokes while hunting. So Branchroot joined Hornet Clan after a bad first half of the year in GalaxyClan. She got buried on patrol and injured her leg, getting a weaker one, and then she decided to join Hornet Clan to be with her brother after Spotted Stripe died, leaving Shrew Cinder to stay with their parent. She seems to be fitting in well and found an injured loner, but sadly he died shortly after. I hope she does well here. She did die in the GalaxyClan playthrough during the Harshleaf Fair generator. She was actually killed by wolves, so it's a good thing that wasn't canon, and instead she joined Hornet Clan. And lastly, 19-moon-old Cougar Thistle joined Hornet Clan. She was learning the warrior code well and did her best being named for her hard work. Purr also came out as a demigirl using she and Purr pronouns. Purr wanted to compliment Luckshine's fighting skills and seemed more attached to her than Fawnstar. She did roll encampment and swindled Purr's way into more fresh kill and bickered with Nightspot, but Purr was a sweet cat, just a little bit of a troublesome side. After Purr's mom died, she decided to leave and be with her mate because she has been seeing a Hornet Clan cat, Gold Run, the kit that Bumblebuzz actually found this year. The two bonded over being abandoned kits, and I hope they do well. Fawnstar was obviously very upset at this, but Cougar Thistle really isn't close to her. But we'll see how next year goes. And wow, the other clan section was long. Blame Hornet Clan and the fact we lost 2 leaders. Anyway, the next year of GalaxyClan should not have this long of a wait in between episodes. I was just kind of dealing with some stuff and life hit me a bit. Year 32 will be played on the newest update, besides the first 2 moons. And on that note, a lot of other clan interaction stuff that they added will probably end up being ignored just because we do actually play the other clans. It is really cool to add that stuff for a single clan playthrough. But it's just not gonna make a lot of sense if we try to leave everything canon. Like, they can show up and say, hey, a leader died and blah blah blah, and stuff like that, and it doesn't make sense. I haven't seen everything that the new update added, but I'm excited to play. And scared. Very scared. It seems like there's a lot more violent stuff. But for now, look forward to next Minospirit and Sparrow Ice's litter. We'll probably get a new deputy next year, considering how old Rowan Ka is. And maybe we'll go to an official war next year. It's really close to one in the code. It's like less than 10, which is low. I'm very interested in Raven Cave, and anyway, I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, and peace!